Thank you. My name is Stavness. I'm from the University of Saskatchewan. I just wanted to highlight my master's student, Shubhra Aich, who's the lead author on this work. So Sajid, in the last session, gave a nice overview of some of the applications we're working on. Again, this is a very high-level aerial image of a research field of wheat in this case. And if we zoom in on this, you can see these individual plots. So these are different experimental conditions. They could be different types, genotypes of wheat, or they could be different treatments like fertilizer application, etc. In this work, we're interested in two particular characteristics, trying to count the plants and trying to measure their biomass. And the main motivation for this is that there are hundreds of thousands of these fields across North America. All of them are inspected manually. So this is summer students crawling through the field, counting plants and making measurements. So if you ever complain about your supervisor making you do tedious tasks, just think of all those poor agricultural students out there doing these things. So this is very early stage emergence, and then as the plants grow, we're interested in biomass, so how much weight the plants have as they grow. So for plant counting, we took high-res pictures of these plants with a rig we call the GoPro. So this is an action camera mounted on a stick and walked through the fields, as you can see here. So this takes a sequence of images that we can then stitch into a panoramic image of the whole plot. And the GoPro is stabilized with a gimbal, so it always points down to help with the stitching. So we've essentially created the world's most boring GoPro footage, but it does produce very nice pictures of plants for us. So these are wheat pictures. Wheat kind of looks like grass when it's small. So from these high-res images, we automatically extract patches, and then these are labeled by the agricultural experts where they count the number of plants they can find. So the annotations here are just what they told us they looked for. So they looked for the base of these clumps of grasses and very dense regions they thought were more than one plant. And what they end up labeling is just the overall count. So it's very weakly supervised labels. And this is a very hard task. So compare this to counting leaves from a plant, which is another common computer vision task. So it's much easier to see 11 leaves in the bottom image than to see 11 wheat plants in the top image. For biomass data, we use the aerial images. This is drones flying a multispectral camera. So it gives us blue, green, red, and 2 near infrared images. And then we can also use structure from motion, similar to the satellite talk, where you get a digital elevation of these plants. So we can get an estimate of their height over the plot. The biomass labels are actually hand measured in the field, so they go out and cut plants and weigh them. So for this reason, we have very sparse data here. So only 48 plots were sampled a couple times during the season. So we use some augmentation by swapping superpixels to try to get more data, but generally we still have very small data sets. For both plant counting and biomass estimation, we pose this problem as nonlinear regression. So we used CNNs, where you get down to one number as output. Both architectures are quite similar. The main difference is for plant counting, we removed the fully connected layers at the back end and replaced it with global average pooling, so we could visualize the counting network. For plant counting, the results are a little bit better than for leaf counting, which we think is a simpler problem, so that was quite promising. And then we looked at different architectural features, so adding inception blocks or residual blocks. For biomass estimation, we also beat the previous benchmarks, and we looked at the effect of different input channels, so using just RGB plus height or using also the near-infrared channels. These are some visualizations from the plant counting network. So we found this is a class activation maps technique, and we did see that the network seemed to localize on salient regions that were similar to what the agricultural people were telling us, so the base of the plant leaves and the very dense regions. So the directions, our group in general is trying to encourage these plant problems in computer vision community. So we're building hopefully large data sets of these both aerial pictures and these very high-res ones across different crops. And there are many good and challenging phenotypes, the resistance of crops to different diseases, resistance to heat and drought, as well as general health, how much yield they produce. So we do hope to catalyze the community and hopefully encourage people to work on this problem. So if you're interested in this application area, definitely come talk to me or shoot me an email. Thank you very much.